Well, these flights arrive quietly, they leave quietly, and their numbers are growing. For months, 7 Investigates has partnered with our sister station, KUSA, to track a rising number of flights connected to ICE operations moving detainees out of Idaho. Tonight, we follow the routes these flights are taking and trace the journey of one Meridian father who says he was shackled and moved through multiple detention facilities before being released months later. As questions grow about transparency and detention conditions, we examine the human impact these transfers are having on Idaho families. KTVB's Brenda Rodriguez reports.
For almost 3 months, these aircrafts have been quietly moving through Twin Falls and Boise, largely unnoticed.
So they'll transport them to Twin Falls and then they'll fly them out to wherever they're going.
Carrying people in handcuffs who just days earlier had been living and working in Idaho communities.
They're just scared that most of these people have been here for decades.
The flights are one link in a larger system, moving detainees from Idaho through a network of detention centers scattered across the country.
After months of tracking aircrafts and flight records, KTVB, en-espanol, and 7 Investigates identified 48 flights coming out of the Magic Valley Regional Airport, 22 of them coming into the airport, and 26 of them flying out.
Since April, records show flights to Utah, Washington, and Texas, with the majority landing in Arizona.
That route used to go out of the main detention facilities. They would be transported over to Tacoma or to Las Vegas, and then they would go out to Phoenix or one of those areas when they were going to do a border crossing.
Government records show DHS contracts CSI Aviation to run ICE flights nationwide, subcontracting with carriers like Air Wisconsin, Global X, and Sky Service, which we found operating out of the Magic Valley Regional Airport. Flight records reveal a reoccurring pattern, with many of the flights operating on Tuesdays and Thursdays and carrying an estimated 10 to 20 shackled detainees at a time. At the Boise airport, flight records show 5 ICE flights in 2025 and 1 more in January of this year.
I think the flights are because the amount of detentions has picked up so drastically that now the busing is no longer feasible. So they're using the flights so that they can process more and more people. There's no discretion anymore in who we detain.
Joaquin Sanchez from Meridian was on one of those flights.
Sí, íbamos esposados de los pies y de las manos y de la cintura. Como un criminal, como criminal.
They treat us like criminals, Joaquin told us, describing his experience on an ICE transfer flight.
Te tienes que apurar a comer porque si no te apuras a comer, te quitan la comida y ya no comes.
¿Usted tiene un récord criminal?
No tenía nada de delitos menores, delitos criminales.
Joaquin was detained on December 6th on his way to take his son to school.
Y recibí una llamada de mi hijo Vicente, quería que lo llevara a la escuela y entonces le dije, ok, está bien, arréglate y ahorita voy yo y te recojo y de ahí me voy a trabajar.
Leaving behind 3 decades of life in the United States along with his wife and 2 children.
Yeah, my heart just broke for my kids because it was December and it was my son's birthday. With my kids, it just makes everything difficult.
Joaquin was held at the Elmore County Jail before being transferred to the Boise airport and flown nearly 700 miles to Pahrump, Nevada. And it didn't stop there. He was later transferred to Phoenix, Arizona. After 4 months in detention, he was then released at the U.S.-Mexico border.
¿Vivió abuso en las detenciones?
No físicamente, pero mentalmente sí. Allí es mucho abuso mentalmente.
He recounts agents pressuring him to sign a voluntary departure and alleges agents withheld medications and rushed them to finish their phone calls with family.
Verbalmente, como muy agresivos.
We also spoke with 2 other men who wanted to remain anonymous. They were flown out of Idaho. Both were deported after being transferred through multiple cities before ultimately being returned to their home countries of Mexico and Ecuador. Like Joaquin, they described harsh transportation conditions, including limited food, alleged mistreatment, and little contact with family, leaving Idaho families without answers.
I went to the ICE office and they wouldn't helped me locate him when he first got taken.
Concerns like hers have prompted community members to monitor flights at the Magic Valley Regional Airport.
We're trying to attempt to connect with people so that we can help people find their loved ones.
Since April, Shelley McDaniels has been documenting detainees tracking hundreds of people being transported out of state.
I really would like to see transparency, due process for these people.
The Department of Homeland Security did not directly address our questions, but said every detainee with a, quote, final order of removal had received due process.
I want to see why they're being taken, and if they gave them due process, we would know. And then there needs to be accountability for everything that's going on.
Is this process hard for you? Is it emotional at all when you're out here?
It's really hard for me. I sometimes have a really hard time watching. If you aren't concerned about the human nature of it, the financial point of it is that we're wasting our taxpayer dollars on things that don't need to be done.
While the speed of detainees that have been transported out of Idaho continues to rise, it's taking a huge toll on Idaho families.
Do they feel like they've lost their dad forever?
Kind of, yeah. My oldest son, he's 14. He hasn't returned to school.
And in a statement, Twin Falls Regional Airport told KTVB it receives federal funding and cannot discriminate against aircraft that can safely operate at the airport. Airport officials say they do not determine which flights use the facility. The Boise Airport declined to comment. You can read Twin Falls' full statement on KTVB.com.